certified addiction counselor, speaker, author, and a recovering sex addict. He has authored several books, including one From One Addict to Another, 40 Days to Freedom, Winning the Battle for Sexual Purity, and God's Plan for Healthy Sexual Workshop. Dan also published the internationally distributed pamphlet 5 Keys to Freedom from Sexual Sin, which was granted an imprimatur from Archbishop Samuel Aquila. Additionally, Dan does presentations to seminarians on how to effectively address pornography in the confessional. Dan has answered God's call in his life through the mission of Road to Purity, a nonprofit organization he founded in 2015. There's a vendor booth back there if you want to check it out. Under the umbrella of Road to Purity, he has developed and released Restoring God's Foundation, the first Catholic-centered men's sexual integrity program. Please join me in welcoming Dan.
Thank you for the Inferno team for inviting me here. First I want to tell you that, just to let you know, middle of last night I got hit with this massive cold. I've been runny nose, runny eyes, sneezing, coughing, I'm starting to lose my voice. 3 different cold medications. I think somebody doesn't want me to be here. But I'm going to be here anyway. So how's the conference going for you guys so far? Everybody on fire for Christ today? Yeah. Ready to keep it going? You know, I got to tell you something. There is one thing I'm going to work on with you guys with. There's one big thing that keeps a lot of us from being on fire with Christ. There is a supernatural, behind-the-scenes war for our souls. This war affects and impacts directly probably 2/3 of us, and indirectly the rest of us. What is this war? I'm talking about sexual sin. Mainly pornography. It's our battle for purity. How do I know this? And who am I to be telling you about this? As you heard a little bit in the introduction, my name is Dan Aungst. I'm the president and founder of Road to Purity. It's an organization that primarily works with education, healing, and awareness of sexual addiction and pornography. I'm a certified addiction counselor. But most of all, most importantly, is I am a recovering sex addict. I was addicted for well over 30 years, and I have been in recovery for over 10. I'm going to share a little bit about my journey with you. For the most part, as so many, my exposure was about 10 years old. Came with some magazines from neighborhood kids. Very intriguing, kind of grew from there. That was something that I was continuing to be involved in through middle school, high school. I got into college and started looking in videos, and by this I mean VHS videos. Okay. Looking around, probably 3/4 of you are going, "What's a VHS video?" Well. Ask your dad. Look at the videos and so forth. Just kind of grew, the craving grew more and more, got deeper into it. Mid-90s, the internet was getting more popular, growing, getting going. Now, just to be clear, the internet for me then was dial-up. And I gotta tell you, today, if you guys had dial-up internet, that would probably be a bigger deterrent from looking at pornography than the filters you can put on your devices. Very bad way to go. But at the time, it was all there was. Now, thinking, all right, good. I don't need this anymore. I'm going to be married. I can have all the sex I want. Nothing was further from the truth. And the biggest reality of it was that your spouse begins to know you in a very intimate way. She knows everything that's wrong with you, all of your shortfalls, and she definitely points them out. So at that point now, I need to escape. I need pornography. So it kept going. Now for me, as I'll share with you later, one of the big problems with pornography is it's progressive. It gets deeper and deeper many times the farther you go. For me, it got to the point to where I needed physical contact. I got to the point to where I was getting involved in massage parlors, affairs, prostitution, the whole gamut. I was out of control. I was literally a train wreck. There was a point where my wife had basically said, get help or get out. And we had went and visited with a priest that we had known for some time. And he said to her, give me 2 months with him. He introduced me to, at the time was a small group sexual integrity program. I started getting involved in that program, meeting the guys with that. Now I gotta tell you, my first experience with that, the first meeting I went to, it blew me away. I'm sitting in a room of 9, 10 guys in this meeting. First time in my life, I said to myself, somebody understands me. I'm not the only one. It grew from there. It was a big factor in my recovery. I began to learn a lot about myself. Was supported by the brothers in Christ in there. Kept growing. Learned a lot about my relationship with Christ. And I also got into some counseling, which for me was necessary with this. My relationship with Christ began at that point. As a result of my recovery through this, and there's a lot more involved in that. There's a lot more detail in my book from one addict to another. It called me to reach out and turn back to other men. And that's why I formed Road to Purity. And it's also why I became a certified addiction counselor. Guys, I'm here to tell you that the feelings of the loneliness, the abandonment, the self-hatred, the unworthiness, we're all part of a bondage that doesn't have to exist. You are not alone. And if you personally don't battle with this, maybe your father does, or your son, or the guy sitting next to you, or the guy on the other side of you, or all of them. Bottom line is freedom is possible. Now, so many of us here, it's just a commonplace out there. People go, so what's wrong with porn? It's just between me and the computer, right? It's no big deal. What's the problem with it? Society will tell us that porn is a way to express sexuality. It's acceptable entertainment. Now, is it really? What's the big deal? Just some of the statistics will tell us that 67% of men look at porn weekly. 11 million teens look at porn on a daily basis. The average first age of exposure is 9 years old. There was enough porn downloaded last year to fill every iPhone on the planet. But what's really wrong with it? Now, we're pretty much all Catholic or at least Christian in this room, I assume, and we all know that it's a sin. Okay, well, we're told it's a sin. Well, what really supports that? I mean, Jesus said, lust is adultery. For every man who commits lust in his heart, another woman commits adultery in his heart. Now, if you're looking at pornography, that's lust, right? The porn is adultery, plain and simple. Now, Luke Gilbertson of Colored Eyes is quoted as saying that porn is a digital prostitute. That makes it pretty graphic and pretty clear what it's about. Now, that's just the sinful part of it. What does it really have effect on us? How about human dignity? We hear that word, oh, it destroys human dignity. What does it really mean? When we're looking at taking another person, us men, taking a woman, and using her for our own enjoyment, that's human dignity. That's actually like a form of slavery, which is a whole nother sin. Another stat is 88% of porn demonstrates violent or aggressive behaviors against women. That's clearly human dignity and destruction of it. At 88%. That's huge. That porn is training our young people what sex is about. It's kind of a problem, isn't it? Now, it destroys relationships. Okay? Porn creates a climate of selfishness. It's a gift to self instead of a gift of self. It's about me. Now, it also begins to rewire the neural pathways in our brain to create narcissistic tendencies. I can tell you that firsthand. That's my wife. Okay. How about human sex trafficking? We've heard that one. Oh, it's got a little bit of impact, maybe some. Well, take a look at some of the stats from an organization called the Polaris Foundation. You go on their website and it'll tell you that in the last year, over 10,000 young women were rescued as a result of their hotline. And that's in this country. 10,000 in 1 year just from their hotline. How many weren't reported? How many go in unnoticed? They will also tell you in that same point that there are approximately 9,000 illicit massage parlors in this country. Now, I know from personal experience, because I've been involved in those, I can recognize them when I drive by them. I know what they're about. Just extrapolating some of the figures based on population and so forth, there's at least 200 in Denver and over 100 here in Colorado Springs. These are whorehouses, plain and simple. And I can tell you those numbers are pretty accurate. And too many of these have these young trafficked girls in them. It's addictive. Pornography is very addictive. Dr. Donald Hilton, who is on the American Board of Neurology, is quoted as saying that pornography is as addictive as cocaine and heroin. That's pretty stunning, don't you think? Part of the reason is that, God designed us as sexual beings, right? Well, there's a whole cocktail of dopamine, vasopressin, norepinephrine, testosterone, oxytocin. This whole cocktail is designed around the sexual behavior of what we do. And putting that together, it's addictive. Well, it's kind of meant to be with our spouses. He wants us to engage in it, but when we go in the way of pornography, it becomes very addictive in an inappropriate way. Pornography is also a dress rehearsal for prostitution. I'm telling you that firsthand. Now, we talked about the 9,000 illicit massage parlors. There's tens of thousands of escorts or prostitutes available on the internet. Just go shopping. We've heard about the Backpage.com that was taken down by the feds, and a couple of categories of Craigslist they got rid of. Guys, they didn't even scratch the surface. If porn wasn't a dress rehearsal for prostitution. All these places wouldn't exist. Nobody wakes up one day after a life of, I'm good, I'm going to church, everything's great, I'm a good man of integrity, and today I visit a prostitute. That doesn't happen. It's progressive. It grows into that in too many cases. There's side effects. We talk about, I don't get involved in this other stuff, it's just going to keep between me and the computer. Well, because of the chemical reactions and things in the brain and neural pathways, pornography side effects results in depression, anxiety. It reduces the frontal lobe of our brain. It just reduces IQ. It reduces our day-to-day pleasure in things. And porn-induced erectile dysfunction. Who wants that? Sounds like one of those commercials talking about, drugs, the side effects of the drugs. Well, this is a side effect of this drug. Now, if it's such a big deal, if it's such a problem, why do we do it? Why is it so popular? Bottom line is, all of us, every last one of us, are emotionally wounded. We're all broken. Okay? And most of this starts in childhood. A lot of it's gotten in childhood. The idea of having those wounds creates a situation to where we need to escape or medication. Now, this is the common reason for things like drug use, alcohol, those kinds of things. But pornography is the number one thing to go to, with this. G.K. Chesterton has a quote. It says, "Every man who stands at the doorstep of a brothel is looking for God." I heard that quote very early in my recovery. It buried me. It's like, this is it. I didn't know it. This is what I've been looking for all this time, and I didn't even get it. Fact is, yes, we are looking for God. God created us to love and be loved. He created us for union with Him and with others. But the thing is, porn is a perversion of authentic intimacy, and it's a perversion of authentic sexuality. Society teaches us that sex is a means in and of itself. God teaches us that sex is a means to a greater end, namely co-creation and bonding with our spouses. Now let's take another, look at this idea. Let's use food, for example. What if we just look at food as a means in and of itself? You're going to eat food, you're going to eat whatever, good steak or whatever, just for the sake of it. I'm not hungry. I don't need the nutrition. I'm just going to eat it because it tastes good, and that's all I'm going to do. That isn't really what it's intended for, right? Food is designed to be nutritious and healthy and so forth. Now, yes, it tastes good. It's supposed to taste good. We have to have it to live. Sex is pleasurable because God designed it that way. We have to have it to have children, to expand His kingdom. But when we look at this as food in and of itself, and compared to sex, what happens is it turns into something like porn is sexual obesity. Okay, it's an overindulgence. It's something just for its own sake. Now, should we talk for a few minutes? I know what I'm talking about as far as porn and sexuality. Now, hey guys, I get it. It's no secret. I know a little bit about food too. So, I got both sides. I get it. I know where I'm at with this. Porn is the problem, but it promises to soothe these wounds that I was just talking about, but it fails miserably. It actually amplifies these wounds with shame, self-disgust, and negative self-images. And it creates a downward spiral, making us feel out of control and helpless. But because we're addicted, we try again and again and again, but we don't get it. Now, one of the characteristics of schizophrenia is repeating the same behavior over and over and over, expecting a different result. So, us porn addicts, we're kind of schizophrenics, really. addiction, a person is unable to stop on their own. That's the meaning of addiction. They can't get over it. They can't avoid the behavior. And I'll tell you a story with that illustrates that for myself. I told you, I was gotten into prostitution. Now, I'm a Catholic convert, and I knew that when I would set up a time and I'd go visit a prostitute, that if I were to die before I went to confession, that I would go to hell. Full knowledge, I knew that plain and simple, and I would do it anyway. I was playing Russian roulette with my soul. That's the true meaning of helplessness, guys. This is where this can go. What do we do about this? That's the biggest question I get. What do I do? Now, part of the commitment to change and part of the motivation to change is understanding that there is a problem. And I think we've covered that for the most part. But we need to understand what the real truth of sexuality actually is. It's not just, oh, well, don't do it then because it's really bad. Well, we're digging, we're escaping. We need something to get to. But what is authentic sexuality about? God created us as sexual beings. He created us in His own image. And to really look at that, we need to kind of look at the Trinity. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Scripture says God is love, right? So there's three parts. There's the lover, the beloved, and the love that they share. These are the three parts. God loves so perfectly and infinitely the Son. The Son loves so perfectly and infinitely the Father. And the love that they share is the Holy Spirit. These are the three parts, one person. So how are we part of this? In Genesis, it talks about man and woman joined together as one flesh under God. We get married. Man, woman, God. Three parts. And when man and woman empty themselves to each other in this complete love, and when God wills it, a third person is co-created. Man, woman, husband, wife, child. Three parts, one person. We have the Holy Trinity, three parts, one person. The marriage with God in the center, three parts. Husband, wife, and child, three parts. Our image of God as man is stamped all over the place. Every one of us here is involved in it, is part of it. It's there in an infinite form. Now the mechanics of this union of man and woman is sex. Sex is the foundation of our existence. We wouldn't be here otherwise. He wants us to engage in it, but in this way. The difference is that sex is a gift of self. It emulates the Trinity and results in life. Porn is a gift to self and results in death. Now let's take another way of looking at this. Same concept. We're talking about porn. We're not designed that way. It's not how God created us. Say you're doing the dishes. Your wife made you do them. You're doing the dishes, and you get to the point to where at the end you get the silverware. I gotta dry off. I have to mount the silverware. I gotta clean off these little pieces. I'm a man. I know how to be efficient. I'm gonna take a shortcut. I'll throw the silverware in the microwave to clean it off, to dry off. Okay, what happens? Your microwave blows up, right? You're using it not as it's intended. I just went through the whole litany of what happens, with pornography, the side effects of it, the sinfulness of it, the human dignity, the destroying relationships. When you're using it not as intended, we blow up, the results are death. It's the same thing. We got to follow what God asks of us, and how is this supposed to be used, and what is the intent of it? Now, from a real and practical sense, you want to get out of this. You want to stop, being bondaged by this behavior. There's four essential components that really need to be involved to get beyond this. There's behavioral, chemical, spiritual, and emotional. Now, understand that the spiritual is the most important one, but I will tell you that praying it away is not the answer. That is not the way to do it. It's not what He wants us to do. He wants us to pray, but not pray it away. Let's look at the behavioral component first. In that, we're talking about changes in our habits and lifestyle. We put filters on electronic devices and so forth. We set boundaries on our behavior, things that we do for entertainment, our activities. We learn our triggers and temptations. We develop predetermined exit strategies of what to do when we do get tempted. Many times we need to get counseling. Okay, I needed that extra help with that. We get involved in maybe a sexual integrity group. Now, XA or SA or Sexaholics Anonymous is probably one of the more common and well-known ones. But I'm going to share with you that we're at the period we just created one earlier this year. It's called Restoring God's Foundation. It's actually a Catholic-centered program that is full of the sacraments and everything. We have the right information out there for anybody that's interested. Next major component is emotional. There's underlying reasons for our behavior. I can tell you, pornography is not a problem by itself. It's the symptom. We look at what I call the river under the river. The river is our behavior, what we do. The river under the river is why we're doing it. That's where we actually have to get to. So we're looking at soothing the brokenness and escaping. It's a medication for us. Well, what are we medicating? That's the real thing that we ought to look at. And bottom line is, all of us, like I said, we're all broken. We all have pain. If we don't transform our pain, we will transmit it. No choice. Porn is transmitting pain. What pain are we transmitting? That is work that needs to be done to truly get beyond this and work through it. And part of doing that is, many times through counseling, integrity groups, but it's got to be the right one. It's got to be ones that will help in a small group of men actually share with each other, be open, have humility, have direction of reaching different areas of your life for change, searching for what the cause is for each of these. We need to address some of these behaviors. We need to address things like our identity issues. When we look at our identity and say, hey, I'm worthless, I'm no good, I'll never amount to anything, I'm not lovable, they need to be dismantled individually and done through Scripture and replaced with what's appropriate and godly. Because those are lies by the enemy. And that's what we live, and that's what we take on as our identity. We got to get rid of that to actually have true, authentic healing and to get past this for me. Next component is chemical. Pornography is a chemical addiction. It is a drug addiction. I told you about the dopamine, which is one of the major factors. Dopamine triggers, or is a hormone that works with our pleasure centers in our brain. Pornography overloads these dopamine receptors. It dumps the dopamine so much that the dopamine receptors in our brain begin to shut down. And when they do that, the pleasure reduces. So we need more frequent, more intense, more risky, more advanced to keep going. Now the results of that as well, I told you one of the side effects earlier, where it was reduced enjoyment in day-to-day things that we used to enjoy. When these dopamine receptors get shut down, everything is subdued. We just don't enjoy things like we used to. Okay? some of the symptoms of this, you'll look at your children that are involved, suddenly they start becoming isolated. They start pulling back from activities that they were once engaged in or once enjoyed. That can be a flag, something to look into, you know. And for us men, our wives looking and say, well, how come you don't do this anymore? You don't go to Jimmy's soccer games anymore. It seems like you're always staying home. That's a flag for you. And if she knows anything, and if I'm talking to her, this can be a flag for her too. Not to tell you guys out, but it's got to be there. Last part is spiritual. This is something that is very important and it's critical. It's the most important of the four, but like I said, it's not the only thing of the four. It has to involve prayer, meditation, adoration, taking in the sacraments. We hear the state of grace. If you look at more, that's a more sin, it's a whole other thing. Knowing about God, though, learning the theology of the body, understanding who we are. Who are we as sexual beings with God? And who are we in God's eyes as humanity? It's very important in engaging with this, getting to know who God is. And ask Him to guide us in those other three areas as well. Ask Him to reveal your brokenness. Because that's the real thing. That's one of the reasons why I say you can't just pray it away. Because He's not just going to make it go away, but not heal your woundedness and your brokenness. He's not going to get rid of, without healing these things, you're still going to have the desire to escape. So it's healing, working on the whole package is what really has to happen. Other things we can do is we need to invite our Blessed Mother into our recovery. She's tough. The first evangelical virtue of Mary is chastity. Jesus gave her to us as our own mother. She can take all of our transgressions. She is tough and she will always lead us to her Son. She's our greatest advocate for everything that we do. And what I'm saying, one of the things you can do is you can pray the rosary. That is a powerful weapon, and I mean weapon. Consecrate yourself to Mary. We have got some 3 cards out at our table of consecration to Mary. And this is such a big deal as far as praying the rosary that we are having custom made a exclusive purity rosary that's just for doing battle for this, for yourself, and for anybody you know, as well as for the intentions of all the victims of sexuality. There's information out on our table about that too, if you're interested. Really, overall, the most important thing of all of this, don't do it alone. Do not do this alone. This is one of your crosses, if not the most important cross that you have to bear. Jesus didn't carry his cross alone. Who are we to think we can? If we're saying, I got this, I carry it by myself, kind of putting ourselves above Christ. I carry my cross even though he couldn't. That's a little bit of a different problem. What is the secret is in darkness, and what is in darkness the enemy owns. Look at the Ephesians, the armor of God. We're talking about the helmet, the breastplate, the sword, all of these things. Great for doing battle. They're in front of us. We're charging on, doing battle. We're receiving the attacks. We're defending ourselves. All that. What's behind us? There's no armor on our back. Who's got your back? Your brother has your back. Your brother in Christ has your back. You have his back. You have his back. He's got your back. We've all got each other's backs. This is the way it's designed. Our brother is here for us to stand up for each other. This is why these small groups work in the recovery, in the programs. There's some internet ones out there that you can learn a lot about. You can learn a lot about stuff and get somewhere, but real recovery requires requires this transparency, this openness, this humility, and sharing yourself with another man and getting them to know who you are. This accountability that has to be there. Fight the battle. Fight for your soul and fight for Christ. My freedom is because of Jesus Christ, and I have to say something. My personal mission is to be here for each and every one of you. I got a story I'm going to close with, but before I do, I'm going to tell you, I'll be here for questions after, as well. We got books, things that I've written out there. If you're interested, take a look at those. We're also taking donations. Like I said, we're a nonprofit agency. We don't have any money, and we need money. So, kind of funny how it works that way. But anyway, I got to close with this story. I've been. This is not something. This is very personal. It's not something that I used to share with people, but I was told that I kind of have to. I had this experience. I'm thinking 3 or 4 years ago. One of those times, you're laying in bed early in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that. You're awake, but you're not. You're kind of not asleep either. I guess they call it twilight area time. You're just there and not there. I'm just laying there with my eyes closed. This image just pops into my mind. I see myself standing at the edge of a canyon. It's infinitely bigger than the Grand Canyon. Virtually all of humanity is down there packed inside of this canyon. They can't move. They're in there like sardines. They're all engulfed in some type of sexual sin, whether it be pornography, adultery, pedophilia, homosexuality, fornication, whatever. They're all just packed in there. There's overwhelming, profound sense of emptiness, aloneness, loneliness, abandonment, self-hatred. They're packed in like sardines, and they feel like they're alone down there. And I'm just feeling this, standing here. Then Jesus is standing at my side. He puts his hand on my shoulder. And he goes, it doesn't have to be like this. I need you to tell them for me. I need you to tell them for me. And he just goes away. I spent the next couple of years, what does this mean? What do I do with this? Well, that was it. And that's why I'm here.